This is The Broken Shift with Nurse Natalie. Healthcare doesn't break in chaos, it breaks quietly. There's a moment in every nurse's career when something just changes. Not their skill, not their knowledge, their voice. A nurse who once spoke up suddenly becomes quiet. They stop questioning unsafe orders. They stop reporting problems. They stop pushing back when something feels wrong. And if you've worked in healthcare long enough, you've seen it happen. A new nurse arrives full of energy, compassion, and confidence, right? A few years later, something is different. They're quieter, more cautious, sometimes even detached. How many of you out there know what I'm talking about? Drop detached in the comments if you do. The question is, why? Because the truth is, nurses don't start their careers quiet. Nothing but. They start off excited. The system teaches them to become that way. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. Across hospitals, across states, across specialties, nurses describe the same pattern. Something happens on the unit, a medication error, a staffing shortage, a patient fall, maybe even a violent patient. The nurse does exactly what the system tells them to do. They file an incident report. They document everything. They follow policy. But instead of support, something else happens. The attention shifts. Suddenly, the conversation is no longer about the problem. Well, then what's it about? If it's not about the problem, what's it about? Oh, it's about the nurse. Imagine this situation. The unit is short-staffed. Instead of 4 nurses, there are 2. I'm sure many of you have been there. Patients are unstable. Call lights are constant. Everyone is stretched thin, right? During the shift, a patient falls. Many of us have witnessed those too. We don't like to, but you've witnessed them. The nurse files an incident report. They document the short staffing. They explain what happened, but when the investigation begins, there is a shift in the conversation. The conversation just changes. It flips. Instead of discussing staff levels, leadership begins asking a different set of questions. Why wasn't the patient monitored more closely? Why wasn't the fall risk reassessed? Why didn't the nurse anticipate the situation? And slowly but surely, the responsibility shifts from the system to the individual. The reality is hospitals operate under intense legal pressure. Every incident is viewed through the lens of a liability. But who's the liability? Whose fault is it, right? Healthcare systems employ entire departments focused on risk management. Every hospital has one. But what risk are they managing? Their job is not only to improve safety, it is also to reduce legal exposure. Whose legal exposure? Well, it's not yours. It's theirs. Because when something goes wrong, the question becomes, again, who's responsible? And when institutions face legal risks, there is often an unspoken strategy because they don't want to be responsible. They contain the problem, limit exposure, find a responsible party. And the person closest to the event is often the bedside nurse. You're the scapegoat. Research into healthcare safety culture shows that this dynamic is real and has real consequences. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Patient Safety found that many healthcare workers hesitate to report safety concerns. Because? Why, do you ask? Because they fear punishment and retaliation. Another study in BMJ Quality and Safety found that when staff believe they will be blamed for errors, reporting rates drop drastically. This is known as a blame culture. And blame cultures are dangerous because the moment staff believe reporting will harm them, they stop reporting. Yep. This is where psychology enters the conversation. When nurses experience punishment or retaliation after speaking up, the brain learns something very powerful. It learns that speaking up is unsafe. That's your fight or flight kicking in. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. Over time, individuals begin to believe their actions will not change the outcome, so they stop trying. It's not that they don't care, they just stop trying. In healthcare environments, this can evolve into something even more concerning. Silence culture. A culture where staff know something is wrong. Oh, they know it. They know it. But they no longer believe it's safe to say so. There's another psychological layer as well. Compassion fatigue. Yes, nurses also have compassion fatigue. Nurses enter the profession because they care deeply about people. But when they repeatedly encounter systems that punish honesty and protect institutions, that caring begins to erode. Not because nurses lose empathy. Like I said, they always care. But it's because they're constantly fighting a system that doesn't change. And that becomes emotionally exhausting. And eventually, self-protection takes over. Fight or flight. And silence becomes their survival strategy. And over time, something subtle but dangerous also happens inside the healthcare culture. The most experienced nurses become the quietest. You may wonder as new nurses why you go in and these nurses are really to themselves. And it's not because they don't see the problems. They see it. Oh, yeah. But it's because they've learned what happens when you speak. New nurses, they pick up on this. They notice who gets labeled difficult. They notice who gets written up. They notice who gets pushed out. And they adjust because they need the work. Now, aside from all the psychological layer, there's a systemic cost to this. This silence in healthcare comes with a cost. When nurses stop reporting problems, the system stops learning from its mistakes. Safety issues remain hidden. Staffing problems remain unresolved. Maybe the institution tells you everything's okay. We haven't heard anything because patterns remain invisible and patients pay the price. Listen, healthcare systems often say they want transparency. They encourage reporting. They tell staff to speak up, but the culture is not created by policies. It's just not. It's created by what happens when someone actually tells the truth. Because the moment a nurse realizes that honesty can cost them their career, the lesson becomes clear. And that written policy is wrapped in silence because the nurses realize that silence is safer. And that is how a profession full of advocates slowly becomes very quiet. Nurses didn't become silent overnight. The system trained them to be that way. One incident report at a time. Healthcare culture doesn't change when we ignore it. It changes when we're willing to examine it. This is The Broken Shift.